Okay, right, friends. Chala, guys. So let's move to the next chapter, that is overheads. Okay, right. Anyway, so before we get to the content, let's look at the brief intro of overheads and then we'll move on. So, introduction. As this is rapid revision, I'll be concentrating on teaching you the concepts. Okay. And for example purpose, obviously we'll be seeing some problems, and after that you guys need to improvise on that. Okay, because it's a rapid revision session of around not even I can say 1/8 of the actual class time, so therefore will not be having sufficient time. So follow me carefully. Ready, guys? And thank you so much for the previous class participation, guys. I think you guys have participated really well. Just a second, I'll just go through the comments once. Yeah, as till this time, as when the class is getting recorded, I'll look into that. So Kalyan John, thank you buddy for participating and commenting. Jonathan Wesley, so thank you so much sir. Even paid classes fail to give such conceptual clarity, but in spite of free classes you're taking efforts to simplify the subject. A big thank for all the efforts and support. Thank you so much buddy. Even Kalyan John, thank you for explaining very clearly sir. Thank you so much. Thank you buddy. Bhuvanesh, thank you sir for taking revision classes. First of all, we are going to face November exam and to revise and practice costing in 2 days once for exam because of you sir. Taking revision class in the morning and a practice in a day, which means we touching costing theory for daily. I'm from Tamil Nadu, Coimbatore. Hello buddy, nalla irkiya? Okay, I hope my Tamil is fine. Nalla prepare pannu, all the best. I share to my friends as well, it will be helpful for them to revise, and then thank you sir. Thank you so much buddy. Suhail, please take overhead as next chapter. I think your comment has been answered, Suhail. Okay. And then Ajay has participated and given the answer. Manuel Royson has participated and given the answer. Trinath Srivatsava has participated as usual. Suhail has participated. Suraj Agarwal, sir, stockout cost in case of materials should loss of profit or loss of contribution, and why? I think I've explained you the concept in the first video of materials chapter. Just check it out once. And Jay Prakash, you have to message me. Okay, just because it is given in ICI doesn't mean that it's correct. Okay, that one thing I can tell you. Next, Srileka Puppala. Okay, participated. Thank you so much. And yeah, so that's it. And thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for participating. So a small help would be if you can share this particular video, let it reach more number of people. So that should be fine. So once again, let's move with this particular chapter and then we'll move on. So many chapters are there. How much we need to cover, that much we need to do in the very less time that is available. Okay, difficult chapters, what I'll do, I'll try to spend a little bit of more time, and easy chapters I'll try to not spend that much of time. Is that clear? That call I'll take. Okay, so anyway, so what is this overhead chapter? First, let's go with the objective. Now what do you mean by objective, guys? So objective means what is the ultimate purpose of overhead chapter. The objective is to find overhead cost per unit. Okay, now I want you guys to recollect the basics cost classification based on relationship into direct cost and indirect cost. Okay, direct cost and indirect cost. Direct cost can also be called as prime cost. Indirect cost can also be called as overheads. And there are three types of direct cost: direct material, direct labor, direct expenses. And there are three types of indirect cost: indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses. Now this particular whole thing I've taught you in basics of costing video, basic cost concepts. So in that there is a cost classification based on relationship with the cost object. There you will classify your cost into direct cost and indirect cost. There I've clearly told you that the very nature of direct cost is such that the moment it is incurred, immediately you can identify what is direct cost per unit. Are you able to understand? Therefore it will not trouble you. Whereas when it comes to indirect cost, the very nature of the cost is such that the moment it is incurred, you cannot find indirect cost per unit as so much. I also gave you one example. Suppose supervisor salary is there. It's an indirect labor, right? Now supervisor salary, suppose you are paying him 50,000 per month. What he is doing? He is supervising all the work that is being done by the labor. Now you have thousands of labor in the factory, and every labor will be manufacturing different furniture. Let's say yours is a furniture manufacturing company. and they are manufacturing so many furnitures like tables, benches, and every single day some X units of tables, Y units of benches, X units of podium, something is getting manufactured. Now at the end of the month, you're paying the supervisor 50,000 rupees salary. Now tell me, what is supervisor cost per unit of bench? Is it easy for you to calculate? Prima facie, at that time itself, at that moment itself, immediately can you calculate? No. Why? Because one bench is not equal to one table is not equal to one podium. So every single day different of these different finished goods are getting manufactured. So it's very difficult for me to divide the supervisor salary and calculate per unit of bench or per unit of podium, whatever it is. So it's practically not possible. In fact, it is impossible at that moment to answer it immediately. See, we are not, please try to understand, we are not saying here that finding out overhead cost per unit is impossible. We are not saying that. What we are trying to say is, it cannot be immediate like direct cost. For example, direct cost, the moment it is incurred, immediately you can say direct cost per unit, but overheads, that's not the case. That is why we read a separate chapter, we have a separate chapter in our syllabus called overheads. Now, what is the whole intention of this particular chapter? The whole intention of this chapter is to find overhead cost per unit. And why? Because the nature of indirect cost or overheads is such that you cannot find indirect cost per unit or overhead cost per unit at the moment itself. It means the moment it is incurred. You got the point? Okay, now. So now how are we going to calculate this overhead cost per unit? We're gonna do this in 3 steps. Okay. Step 1, primary distribution of overheads. Step 2, secondary distribution of overheads. Step 3, absorption of overheads. Now once we are done with step 3, then eventually you will be able to calculate, you will be able to know what is overhead cost per unit. Now once you know what is overhead cost per unit, you will be adding them to direct cost per unit. Correct? Once you know what is direct cost per unit and indirect cost per unit, you will be getting what? Total cost per unit. Once you get your total cost per unit, you'll be adding your profit markup and you'll be fixing selling price per unit, presuming that you're a price setter. Okay, as a manufacturing company, presuming that you're a price setter. So that's the whole concept over here. Okay, to put it very simple, this is what the chapter is. Very simple, that's it. Beyond that, we have nothing in this particular chapter. Okay, so this is the brief summary of the whole chapter. You got it? So you're gonna find your overhead cost per unit in 3 steps: primary distribution, secondary distribution, and absorption of overheads. Okay, now let's start with the first step, primary distribution of overheads. Now in this primary distribution of overheads, what basically happens is, the first thing that you need to understand is overhead is not a single expense. It is not a single expense. In fact, it is a pool of so many expenses. Overhead is not a single expense. In fact, it's a pool of so many expenses. You got the point? For example, the brief classification, the simple classification of overheads is what? Indirect material, it includes indirect labor, it includes indirect expenses. Now this is very important. Many a time, if we ask a student what do you mean by overheads, his answer will be like, it's indirect costs. Then it's right answer. Indirect expenses, wrong answer. Because indirect expenses is only part of overheads. Apart from that, you have indirect labor and indirect material. All these 3 put together, we call it as what? Overheads. So if you are giving answer as, if somebody has asked you what is overheads and your answer is, it is indirect expenses, then your answer is wrong. It is not indirect expenses, it is indirect cost. Indirect expenses is one part of the overheads. You got the point? This is another common mistake that I see in students, what they do. Okay, anyway, now, so because it's not a single expense, it's a pool of so many expenses, you will have a lot of expenses. Okay, all these expenses have to be distributed. Okay, now let's take rent for example. Now rent is an overhead. Of course, it's an indirect expense. It is not indirect material, it is not indirect labor, it is indirect expense. Okay, so now the point is, ultimately it's a overhead. Now why did we incur rent is a basic question. Why did we incur rent? Because so many departments have occupied so much of square feet of area. Are you able to understand? And as a result, we have to pay rent because each and every department has occupied some area. Correct? So which means they are enjoying that area, and because of that, rent has formed. Correct? So which means this rent burden should be given back to them, because of them only rent has been incurred, correct? So whichever department, how much is the area they're enjoying, to that extent, that proportion of rent must be distributed back to them, or must be apportioned back to them. Are you able to understand? So what we are going to do is that, firstly, we are going to identify departments in manufacturing company. Okay, before we try to do primary distribution, we need to identify departments in a manufacturing company. Generally, there will be two types of departments. Okay, one will be production departments, other one will be service departments. Two types. I'm not saying how many numbers of departments will be there. I'm saying two types. So production departments, as you know, what they actually do is that they will produce things, right? Okay, they will produce the goods, work in progress or finished goods, whatever it is. Service departments, they don't produce anything. In fact, they will support the production departments. It can also be called as support departments also. They will support the production departments in doing the production department's job. So basically, there will be two types of departments in a manufacturing company: production, service, or support departments. Got it? Now, let's say there are three production departments, P1, P2, and P3. Two service departments. Totally, how many departments we have got? 5. Okay, all these so-called two types of departments put together. Now we have a rent expense over here under particulars column. Then I'll have a basis column over here. So why did we incur rent? Because all these so-called 5 departments has occupied area. So take area square feet. Take area square feet. In that ratio, in the ratio of the area occupied by 3 production departments and 2 service departments, you distribute the total rent overhead that has been incurred to all these departments, irrespective of whether they are production departments or service departments, to all the departments. So the wording is all the departments. So what is the wording? Keyword over here, all the departments. So when I'm doing primary distribution, what I basically do is that I try to take any of the overhead expense. I'll try to find a suitable basis. See here, for rent, the suitable basis is area square feet. For example, if it is electricity, maybe light point, something like that. Are you able to understand? For power, maybe horsepower of the machine or working hours of the machine. So everything will have a suitable basis. With common sense, you can actually identify. It's not a so difficult task. Okay, the moment you see the overhead expense, immediately what is suitable for it, you can easily identify. For example, canteen expenses are there. Obviously, number of employees will be the suitable basis, because based on number of employees only, your canteen expenses will be incurred, because they are the only guys who will eat something in the canteen. So like that, the moment you see the overhead expense, you can easily identify what is a suitable basis based on which this particular overhead expenses has to be apportioned to all the departments. Are you able to understand? So our focus should not be too much on what is a suitable basis, and don't try to by heart it. By default, in a natural way, it should come. Okay, because we just need to use common sense. So primary distribution is very simple, where we'll try to take an overhead expenditure, for example, in this case, rent, and we'll distribute that to all the departments, that is production as well as service department, without showing any difference, on a suitable basis. For example, here rent has been distributed to all these departments on the basis of area square feet. Got the point? Chalo. Okay, now tell me, once primary distribution is done, so what will happen? Particulars, basis. We have, in our example, we had 3 production departments and 2 service departments. So once primary distribution is done, if it is done, then what will happen? Overheads after primary distribution, like that. You'll have some number over here, some number over here, some number over here, and over here. Okay. Now what I have to do, I need to go for secondary distribution of overheads. Now the basic question is, why should we go for secondary distribution of overheads? Now the logic is very simple. Tell me one thing, guys. Ultimately, what is your target? Your target is to find overhead cost per unit. So where do you find your units? Only in production departments. Do I find the same in service departments? No. Are you able to understand? And not only that, service departments don't produce anything by themselves. They actually provide service to the production departments. Therefore, we're gonna reapportion these overheads which has been apportioned to the service departments as a result of the primary distribution back to the production departments in the ratio of service that has been rendered by them. So this, say for example, S1 service department is there. This will be apportioned back to production departments, all the 3 from S1. Are you able to understand? From S1. Okay, I'll take another color. Yeah, again from S2 to P3 to P2 to P1. Okay, on which ratio they will reapportion the overheads of the service departments back to the production departments in the ratio of service rendered. Are you able to understand? So which means once you are done with your what do you call secondary distribution, what will happen? So let me write it over here. Overheads after secondary distribution. You'll have some number over here for P1 production department, some number over here for P2, some number over here for P3, and here nil, because all the overheads of the service departments has been apportioned back to the production departments. Got the point? So now what is the last step? The third step is absorption of overheads. So very simple. Now after secondary distribution, where are your overheads? Your overheads are present inside the production departments. Where are your units or production? They are also present inside the production department. So simply divide it with units. See, although it is not this simple, but I'm just trying to give you a basic idea right now. So simply divide it with units. Then you will be getting your target, which is overhead cost per unit. You got your number. Once 3 steps are done, then you add direct cost per unit. Okay, which will be what can I say, readily available information with you, and voila, you got your target total cost per unit. So this is the brief, just a simple idea, a crude idea of how this entire chapter looks like, because these things are very important for you guys before we can dig deeper. Are you able to understand? See, you got what I'm trying to say? So when it comes to overheads after primary distribution, when you're doing your secondary distribution, of course there are different methods. Are you able to understand? Direct distribution method, you have step ladder method, you have repeated redistribution, you have simultaneous equations, trial and error methods. Okay, all these things are different. When I go to the respective steps one by one, there I'll explain you in detail. Here my ultimate purpose was to explain you in a brief way how the whole thing is going to happen, the entire chapter for that matter. You understand the point? So that's what we have done eventually over here. I think it's cool, right? So you take the overheads, you go with the first step where you try to distribute the overheads on a suitable basis to all the departments, irrespective of whether they are production departments or service departments, on a suitable basis is primary distribution of overheads. Once primary distribution is done, in the second step, because your ultimate objective is to find overhead cost per unit, and units will be available only in production departments, and not only that, service departments in return provide service to production departments only. They don't manufacture anything on their own. So you have to reapportion back the overheads of the service departments which they have received as a result of the first step, that is primary distribution of overheads, back to production departments in the ratio of service that has been rendered by the service departments to the respective production departments. So there are so many methods that we'll see later, but ultimately whichever method you follow, ultimately what's going to happen, the service department overheads will be apportioned back to production department overheads in the ratio of services provided by those service departments to the respective production departments. Then at the end of the secondary distribution, your service department's overheads will become nil, and you'll have some numbers in production departments. And now that you have come to the third step, that is absorption of overheads, you have the units ready in the respective departments. Of course, it's not going to be just units method. There are so many 5 different types of overheads also apart from units, but still right now, to keep it simple, you'll find units in production department, you just divide them, you'll get overhead cost per unit. Already direct cost per unit will be available, so now you get total cost per unit, you fix the profit margin, you fix your selling price, you do your business. That's it. Ultimately, your target of finding out overhead cost per unit, which seems to be very difficult, the moment it is incurred, unlike the direct cost, is done. The job is done. Are you able to follow me? Right? Phenomenal. Chalo. So this is the whole thing. So now that we have seen a basic idea, let's go in depth. Let's start with the primary distribution of overheads. As you can see here, in a manufacturing organization, departments can be classified into 2 types, namely production departments and service departments. Those departments which are actually engaged in production are classified as production departments, obviously, and those departments which don't produce anything, which assist, which help, which provide service to the production departments are called as service departments. Suppose you take a textile mill, departments engaged in spinning and weaving activity, that is spinning department and weaving department, we call it as what? Production departments, because they are directly engaged in the production activity, while service departments are, say for example, repairs and maintenance department, factory canteen, or service departments. They don't manufacture anything, but in fact they help the production departments. since they do not directly engage in the production but instead assist the production departments by providing timely raw material supplies, repairing machines, and providing food to the workers in the factory. Got it? That's a basic thing. Next, meaning of primary distribution. I've already explained you this. So this is the first step, is to distribute the overhead cost to all the departments, both production and service, on a suitable basis. For example, rent should be apportioned obviously in the ratio of floor space occupied, which is nothing but floor area in square feet. Power cost should be apportioned based on kilowatt hours or working hours or horsepower of the machine. In other words, departments enjoy benefits out of overheads, and hence these overheads should be apportioned back to the departments on the basis of the benefit they have enjoyed. So the process of distributing or apportioning these overheads to various departments on a suitable basis is also called as what? Departmentalization of overheads. Or you can of course call it as primary distribution of overheads as well. Nothing surprising. You got it? So let's get into this example one over here. Okay, so let's start with the first example, okay, to understand what primary distribution of overheads. Okay, so the following figures are extracted from the accounts of a manufacturing concern for the month of September 2008. So we have indirect materials over here, production department 1, production department 2, and production department 3. Then we have two service departments, maintenance department and stores department. Then we have indirect wages over here. Here we were talking about indirect materials. Indirect wages again P1, P2, P3, S1 and S2, two service departments. Okay, and then this lot we have, okay, power and light. Then we have insurance on assets, rent and rates, meal charges. Got the point? Depreciation on capital value of assets is 6% per annum. From the above information, prepare a primary distribution summary with the following departmental data. Okay, what else we have? Area in square meters. Okay, for 3 production departments as well as 2 service departments, it is given. Capital value of assets in thousands, it is given. Kilowatt hours is also given. Number of employees is also given. Anyway, so one thing that you guys need to understand over here, whenever we try to read a question in overheads chapter, things that you guys need to understand first of all is, first thing is what we need to do is most important thing. Whether I have to do primary distribution, or I have to do secondary distribution, or I have to do both, or I have to do absorption, or I have to do all the three. So this is very important. The problem with students is that many a times they don't give good importance to all these steps. See, reading the question is important. At the same time, understanding what the question is also important. Okay, with respect to this example, you will easily say, what is it, sir? Because it's an example for primary distribution. Obviously, what we have to do is primary distribution. Okay, but that cannot be the case always. So sometimes it will be really challenging for you to figure out what you have to do, whether you have to do primary distribution or secondary distribution or absorption or all the three or any of the two. Okay, now, okay, we know clearly that what we have to do here is primary distribution. How can we say that? It is specifically given in the question. So always be happy when something is specifically given in the question. See, sometimes question can be very clear, where in the question it will specifically tell you what to do. Sometimes questions will be silent, where it will not tell you what to do and you just need to figure out yourself. That's where it will become a little bit more challenging. Keep this in mind. Next, another thing that you got to understand is, say for example, this wording is not there in the question. He did not ask you, he has just asked you prepare a distribution summary. He did not ask you PD or SD, which means primary distribution or secondary distribution. So which means the question is silent, say for example. Then what happens eventually is you have to observe the question. Okay, what do you mean by overheads? Indirect material, indirect labor and indirect expenses. Indirect material is already distributed to all the 5 departments, which means primary distribution of indirect material is already done. Indirect wages is already distributed to all the 5 departments, irrespective, both the production and service departments, which means what I can say is indirect wages primary distribution is also done. So from this you can come to a conclusion that primary distribution is already done for indirect materials and indirect labor. But there is one more with respect to overheads, that is indirect expenses, which I've obviously boxed out over here. That has not yet been distributed to all the 5 departments. By looking at that information, you can come to a conclusion that yes, primary distribution is not yet fully completed. Are you able to understand? It's not yet completed 100%. Let's say 70% has been done already. You got the point? Still 30% is left. Chalo, done. Okay, so now what I have to do, simply just take the solution. So what you'll be doing eventually, very simple. I'll keep the question on this side. Okay, so solution. What will be the heading? Primary distribution of overheads. Okay, obviously that will be your heading. Look at the question. First column you can write it as items or particulars, whichever way you want. Okay, then we have basis, suitable basis. Then we have production department 1, 2, 3, service department 1 and service department 2. Got it? Okay, first we'll start with indirect materials. So for your kind information, it has already been given in the question. Do I need to do anything? No. Let's pick up the numbers over here. 950. We have 1200. Then we have 200. We have 1500 from the question. Then we have 400 from the question. Did I do something special over here? Nothing. I've just picked up the numbers from the question. Then we have something called indirect wages. Again, same stuff. Do I need to apportion here, or it has already been apportioned? It has already been apportioned, which means it is given in the question. So which is 900. Then we have 1100. Then we have 300. We have 1000. And then we have 650. You got it, guys? Okay, now the thing that is missing is indirect expenses. Now that we need to see how to actually do it. Now for that, first indirect expenses, what we have is power and light. Okay, coming on to power and light. Okay, now tell me what is a suitable basis based on the question. Power and light. Look at the question, guys. So what is a suitable basis for power and light? If you look at the question, can it be area? Can it be capital value assets? Can it be kilowatt hours? Can it be number of employees? You just need to think it over, right? Power and light. Obviously what? Kilowatt hours is more suitable over here, right? Chalo. So kilowatt hours. Okay, now look at the question and tell me kilowatt hours. What is the ratio? You take at the common numbers over here. Kilowatt hours. In all these four, what is common is 2 zeros, correct? Take out those 2 zeros. That leaves you with 40, 44, 16, 15 and 5. So 40, 44, 16, 15 and 5. Correct? Based on the question. Okay, what is the expenditure of power and light? Obviously, as you can see, it is 6,000. Okay, what is the total of this? The total of this is 40 plus 44 plus 16 plus 15 plus 5. So it comes around 120. So in that case, what's gonna be your answer over here? 6,000 is the total expenditure, correct? Yeah, as you can see here, I'll show you 6,000 into, okay, 40 divided by 120. Simple apportionment calculation, which comes around 2,000 over here. Next, 6,000 into 44 divided by 120. 2,200. Next, 6,000 into 16 divided by 120. 800. Next, 6,000 into 15 divided by 120. 750. Next, 6,000 into 5 divided by 120. 250. Very easy. Got the point? We are done with the apportionment. Same stuff we have to do for everything. For example, what do we have next? Insurance on assets. Okay, what is a suitable basis for insurance on assets? You can see capital value. Okay, similar way we'll take the numbers over here. We'll remove the common zeros. That comes around 100 is to 120 is to 80 is to 60 is to 40. Now take out the value of insurance which is given in the question, 1000. Now total this up. This comes around 120, 80, 200, 300, 360, 400. Okay, in that case it will be total expenditure is 1000. So which means 1000 into 100 by 400. 1000 into 100 divided by 400. For whom? For P1, which is 250, and so on. See, hereafter anyway it's going to be the same calculation. Are you able to understand? So nothing much really to discuss over here. I hope you guys are comfortable with the calculation. Because it's a rapid revision, we cannot spend too much of time in calculating these basics. Okay, we need to concentrate on a lot more important areas. So as you can see here, I gave you the solution. Next, rent and rates, obviously the area, same stuff you have apportioned. Meal charges, obviously number of employees, same stuff you have done. Now coming on to depreciation, this is where most of you will do mistakes. So here, red mark. Why? Normally what you people will do is that, see, you know that for depreciation it is capital value. Based on capital value only you will depreciate. There is no doubt in that. Okay, so what you will do is that you will take the capital value, which is 100 and 1000, because this is given in 1000, so it is 1 lakh. 1 lakh into 6% you will put, and directly you will put the number over here, which is wrong. You should multiply with into 1 by 12. I've seen in the live class, in the face-to-face class, I've seen most of the students, what they do is that they take depreciation, which is 6%, into capital value, which is 1 lakh for P1, and that's it. They'll put the answer, which is wrong. Why? Because you should have studied your question more carefully. How many of you, now you're watching the video, tell me honestly, how many of you have given due importance to this word? The following figures are extracted from the accounts of a manufacturing concern for the month of September. Only if you have given due importance to this word, then only when you're calculating depreciation over here, you'll understand that, okay, it is for September. So I will take 1 lakh into 6% per annum into 1 by 12, because I need to take it only for September. So these are all the mistakes generally that we do, because I can say these are all the mistakes because of carelessness, because of not giving due importance to the reading of the question. Anyway, so this is one area where you guys will mess it up, so be careful with respect to this question. And once you are done with it, then it's pretty simple. Overheads after primary distribution, you got the answers over here. It's a mere calculator work. Got it, guys? I hope it is clear to all of you. Done? Chalo. Let's move on to secondary distribution of overheads. So now, so far what we have done is that we have seen the basic idea of the whole chapter of overheads. Also, we have seen what is primary distribution of overheads. We have done a sum as well. Okay, now let's move on to secondary distribution of overheads. I already explained you. What do you mean by secondary distribution? The overheads of the, yeah, here I've explained you. Once you are done with primary distribution, all your overheads will be distributed to production as well as service departments. And service departments overheads has to be reapportioned back to the production departments in the ratio of the service that has been provided by them. Are you able to understand? That's nothing but secondary distribution, and I gave you the logic behind that as well. Same stuff we'll be seeing over here. At the end of primary distribution, overheads of the organization are suitably apportioned to production and service departments. Ho gaya. That's the end of PD, primary distribution. Now the next step is to redistribute the service department overheads to production departments in the ratio of benefits derived by the production departments from the service departments. In other words, in the ratio of service that is being provided by the service departments to the production departments. So this is referred as redistribution or reapportionment of overheads, and you have the following methods. Direct distribution method. This is a step ladder method. You can call it a step cost method as well. Reciprocal services method. You have got repeated redistribution method, and you have got simultaneous equations method. One more is there. We call it as trial and error method, which is not that important. That's why due importance is not given. Okay. So secondary distribution, we have totally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 methods. Direct distribution method, step ladder method, repeated redistribution method, simultaneous equations method, and trial and error method. Got the point? Chalo, anyway. So we'll start with the first methodology of secondary distribution. What is that? Direct distribution method. Okay, what is that? Direct distribution method. Now in this method, what happens? I'll explain you all the methods and then I'll move on. So listen carefully. Okay. Let's say you have 3 production departments. Listen carefully, guys. 2 service departments. First, you will start with what? Overheads after primary distribution. Done. Overheads after primary distribution. Ho gaya. Okay. Now Now what is the next thing that we have to do? See here guys, listen carefully. You have overheads after PD, right? And in secondary distribution, what are we going to do? We're going to redistribute the service department overheads back to what? Production departments. So in direct distribution method, what happens is, we will take the service department overheads. For example, I'll take S1. So let's start with S1 first. Okay. Whatever the amount that S1 is there, I'll be reducing from here. And I'll be distributing them to P1, P2 and P3 in the ratio of service that has been provided. Then I'll take S2. Now S1 has anyway become 0. Okay. Then I'll take S2 over here. And I'll distribute them to P1, P2 and P3. Okay, yeah. These two has become nil. And you have got some numbers over here. Direct distribution is done. And here I'll write overheads after secondary distribution. Okay. Now, so this is the methodology basically. Now there are certain important points that you guys need to remember when it comes to direct distribution method. Okay. First point is, see, when service departments are providing service, for example, let's take canteen department. People will come and eat food in the canteen. So that's the way they are providing service. Now, tell me one thing, is the canteen department is providing service only to production departments? For example, there is repairs and maintenance department, which is also a service department. You will find employees in repairs and maintenance department also. Won't they come inside the canteen and won't they eat? Which means canteen is providing service to what? Repairs and maintenance department, right? Which means one service department is providing service to another. Similarly, repairs and maintenance department also. Suppose any machine in canteen department doesn't work, say for example, a big machines. Then repairs and maintenance department will come and repair it, which means they are also providing service to another service department. So the point that you guys need to understand here is, service departments not only provide service to production departments, but also they provide service to other service departments. Okay. Service departments not only provide service to production departments, but also they provide service to other service departments. Now that's the important point that you guys need to understand over here. I hope this is clear. Right guys? Okay. Now, when it comes to direct distribution method, what it says is that you got to ignore the service being provided by one service department to other service department. That's what direct distribution method says. Again, I repeat, direct distribution method says you have to ignore the service being provided by one service department to other service department. So from this, how to actually solve this when it comes to in a particular question. Now see here. Let's say question is silent. Question has asked you to do secondary distribution, but it did not tell you which method. It is silent. Which method has not been told by the question, which means it did not tell you whether it is direct distribution or step ladder or repeated redistribution or simultaneous equations or trial and error. Question is silent. Question has simply told you do secondary distribution. Then what you have to do, look at the info in the question. This is very important. Listen. Look at the information given in the question. Are you able to understand? Once you look at the information, the suitable basis for apportionment of service department overheads back to what? Production departments. That so-called information, it should be given only for production departments. If information is given only for production departments and information is not given for service departments, okay, here there is no information, then you can do this particular secondary distribution only as per direct distribution method because of lack of information. See, try to understand one thing. What is the basic nature of direct distribution method? It says even if one service department, see, service department overheads will be directly distributed to the production departments, and there is no question of one service department providing service to another service department. That's the basic philosophy of direct distribution method, which means how can you identify if the question is silent? If there is no information with respect to one service department providing service to another service department, that info, if it is not there, then you have to do that particular secondary distribution of that particular problem following direct distribution method. Okay. Another confusion that students will be facing is question will be specific. What do you mean by question being specific? Question will specifically ask you to do secondary distribution as per direct distribution method. What is there, sir? Very happy, right? Because there is no confusion, because question has specifically asked. So question has specifically asked me to do secondary distribution as per direct distribution method. Sir, this is good news, right? Why? Because question is specific, no confusion. If you look at the information, then the confusion will increase. Information will be given with respect to one service department providing service to another service department also. Then students will get confused. Because when it comes to direct distribution, what is the basic philosophy? There is no question of one service department providing service to another service department. It's just service department will be providing service to production departments only. Are you able to understand? So here the question is pretty specific. In the question, it has been clearly asked that you have to do secondary distribution as per direct distribution method. You have to do secondary distribution as per direct distribution method. And information of one service department providing service to another service department is given. In that case, what you have to do? You need to ignore the information of one service department providing service to another service department, and then solve the problem as if that information you have not seen in the question. Are you able to understand? These are all the important things. Many times why students feel overheads as difficult is because they don't know all this. They don't know the areas where they have to concentrate. It's not just looking at the question and then solving it, because the questions are pretty much the same, guys. The numbers are pretty much the same. Are you able to understand? You take anybody's material. It's like anybody's material. Questions are pretty much the same. The thing is, how do you actually solve it? How do you actually look at it? What's your thought process when you're trying to solve the question? So these are all the areas where you have to be pretty much clear. So here I told you two important things with respect to direct distribution method. One, when the question is silent, look at the information. And if the information with respect to one service department not providing service to, if the information with respect to one service department providing service to another service department is not given, then you don't have a choice. You have to do secondary distribution as per direct distribution method only. The another possibility is question will be specific, where question specifically tells you that do secondary distribution as per direct distribution method only. Then you are happy. Okay, question has asked, I'll just blindly follow. But if you look at the information, you'll get confused. Why? Because for doing direct distribution method, you don't want information of one service department providing service to another service department, but still in question that information will be given. In that case, what you will do? You will think that, arey yaar, the question is asking to do direct distribution method, but then he gave information with respect to one service department providing service to another service department. Then what do you have to do? Ignore and then solve. Got the point, guys? That's the thing. Anyway. Okay, now look at this question. X Limited has 3 production departments and 4 service departments. The overheads of these departments after primary distribution are as follows. So from the question, it's quite clear. Primary distribution is done. So 3 production departments, 4 service departments. Primary distribution is done. The following information is available with respect to production departments. Look at the information. Horsepower of machine, number of workers, value of stores requisition. Apportion the service department overheads to production department. So the question is quite clear. You got to do secondary distribution. But did he mention the method here? Apportion the service department overheads to production departments. Apportioning the service department overheads to production department overheads is nothing but secondary distribution. That is clear. In secondary distribution, we have got 5 methods. Direct distribution method, step ladder method, repeated redistribution method, simultaneous equations method, trial and error method. Now, which method did he specify over here? The answer is no. So when he did not specify any method, which method we need to apply? For that, I told you to look at the information. That's what I've told you here. Look at the info. Correct? Now look at the information over here. Horsepower of the machine given only for production department. Do you have any information with respect to service department? For stores department, what is the horsepower? Not given. For timekeeping department, what is the horsepower? Not given. For power department, what is the horsepower? Not given. For canteen department, what is the horsepower? Not given. Similarly, number of workers. So you can see the information in the question is given only for production departments. There is no information with respect to what? Service departments, which means you can do secondary distribution of this particular question as per only direct distribution method. Any other method you can't do even if you want to, because of lack of information in the question, because there is no information with respect to service departments. Therefore, even though the question is silent, where it says apportion the service department overheads to production departments, we know that we need to do it as per which? Yeah, direct distribution method. We have to do it as per what method? Direct distribution method. Got it, guys? I hope this is clear, right? So pretty simple. Primary distribution summary, copy paste from the question. Stores department, obviously. What is a suitable basis for stores department here? You can easily guess. Is it horsepower of the machine, or is it number of workers, or is it value of stores equation? Obviously value of stores equation. Okay, number of stores equation, you got it here, right, for stores department. Next, timekeeping. Timekeeping means you will try to keep the time of the employees who are working, so which means number of workers is a suitable basis. Power, horsepower of the machine. Canteen, people will be eating, which means number of workers again. So very easy. Okay, and the ratio is given here itself: 25 15 10 20 15 15 30 30 20 or 3 3 2. Very easy. Got the point, guys? And you just need to apportion in that ratio. So see, I'm not concentrating on the calci work because anyway you guys can do that. I'm concentrating on the other important areas where frequently students will do mistakes. So please try to understand what I'm trying to do over here. I hope this is clear. So I'll just give you some 30 seconds. Just go through this particular solution over here for this question. Go through it, guys. Okay, guys, done with it? Chalo. Let's move on to the next one, and that is step ladder method. Now this is pretty important method, and one of the methods where people have got confused a lot. Okay, so therefore we'll be spending some decent amount of time with respect to step ladder method. Okay, first one is, please try to understand this method is like one-way traffic. What do you mean by that? Okay, I'll explain you. Let's say there are 3 production departments, P1, P2 and P3, and 2 service departments, S1 and S2. Got it? Then step ladder method means basically we are talking about secondary distribution of overheads. So particulars here I will write overheads after primary distribution, because after that only you will start with secondary distribution, correct? Okay, now so let's say for example purpose I'll take another service department. Okay, this is how it looks like once primary distribution is done. Your overheads has been distributed to all the production departments and service departments. Okay, everything is ready. Now I have to follow step ladder method to solve the secondary distribution. Okay, let's see how it works. Basically that I'll try to explain you first, then we'll go for the logics. Okay, first what you have to do is that, listen carefully. Before you start with secondary distribution as per step ladder method, you need to know the order of apportionment. Before you start apportioning secondary distribution as per step ladder method, you need to know order of apportionment. Order of apportionment means first you should apportion S1 or S2 or S3. You should know this. Generally, order of apportionment can be decided on various factors. One possibility is that depending upon maximum number of services. For example, S1 is providing maximum number of services. Are you able to understand? And S2 is relatively less number of services it is providing. S3 is providing relatively less number of services. Then you will start with that service department which has provided maximum number of services. Are you able to understand? Then second best number of services, third best number of services. That will be your order of apportionment. For example, S1 provides service to P1, P2, P3, S2 and S3, which means it is providing services to how many people? 5. S2 provides service to P1, P2, P3 and S3, which means it is providing how many services? 4. S3 provides service to P1, P2, P3, which means it is providing how many services? 3, which means the order of apportionment will be, you will start with maximum number of services, that is S1, which is 5, then S2, which is 4, then S3, which is 3. That is one way. Second way is sometimes order of apportionment will be directly given in the question. When it is given in the question, just blindly follow the question. So question will specifically tell you start with S1, then S2, then S3. So simply what we'll do, okay, we'll follow the question. We'll start with S1, then S2, then S3. Then it's the matter. Sometimes you will face a peculiar situation where all the service departments will be providing equal number of services. S1 will provide 5 service. For example, S1 will provide service to P3, P2, P1, S2, S3, which means 5. The number is 5. S2 also will provide the same. P3, P2, P1, S1 and S3. So it is also doing 5. S3 also will do the same. So everybody will have 5, 5, 5. Now how will you decide order of apportionment here? Not possible, because all the three are providing equal number of services. So we cannot decide order of apportionment based on number of services. That's one problem. Second, even the question is also silent. So question also did not tell you the order of apportionment. Then what you will do? Go with the numbers. The numbers. For example, S1 is 5 lakhs. Overheads after primary distribution. S2 is 4 lakhs. S3 is 2 lakhs. Then start with S1 because it is 5 lakhs. Then S2 4 lakhs. Then S3 2 lakhs. Are you able to understand? These are all the confusions that you will face in the examination when you are trying to do secondary distribution following step ladder method. Are you able to understand? Now, let's say order of apportionment is decided based on maximum number of services. So first maximum number of services is provided by S1. Okay, so let's start with S1. So S1 is providing service to whom? P1, P2, P3, S2, S3. So S1 gone. S1 is gone. Okay. Now after S1 you will start with what? S2. Okay, but because step ladder is one-way traffic, which means either you can pay service, either you can give service, or you can take service, but you can't do both. That is a peculiarity of, step ladder method. That's why I told you that it is like a one-way traffic. Either you can go or you can come. You can't do both. Now listen carefully. What is the unique thing of step ladder method? Either it can give service or it can take service. Got the point? Now, so S1 has given service to everybody, which means it cannot take service from anybody. Therefore, put a dash over here. Now let's talk about S2. So S2 will give service to P1, P2, P3 and S3. S2 cannot give service to S1. Why? Because S2 has taken service from S1. So one-way traffic is allowed. S2 has taken service from S1. Here it is. S2 has taken service from S1. Therefore, S2 cannot give back service to S1. That road is blocked. Are you able to understand? So this is the situation. Now S2 is also done. Okay. Now next start with S3. S3, it will give service to whom? It will give service to P1, P2, P3. Can S3 give service to S1? No, because S3 has taken service from S1. One-way traffic. You have taken service, you cannot give service. Can S3 give service to S2? No, because S3 has taken service from S2. So because S3 has taken service from S2, it cannot give service. So that road is also blocked. Are you able to understand? So now S3 ka kaam bhi pura ho gaya. So as you can see here, it comes this way. Can you see that? That is why it is called as step ladder method, because it, as you can see, it is in the form of a ladder. So the most important point that you guys need to understand here is either you can give service or you can take service. If you have given service, you cannot take service. If you have taken service, you cannot give service. Okay. So let's try to understand that one more time. S1 has given service to P3, P2, P1, S2 and S3. S1 has given service to everybody. Therefore, it cannot take service from anybody. Therefore, always it is dash. Coming on to S2. S2 has taken service from S1 here, therefore S2 cannot give service to S1. But S2 did not take service from S3, therefore S2 can give service to S3. Therefore S2 has given service to P1, P2, P3. P1, P2, P3 anyway it is common. Also it has given service to S3. Got it? Coming on to S3, because S3 has taken service from both S1 and S2. Here it has taken service from S1, here it has taken service from S2. So S1 it has taken service, S2 it has taken service. Therefore it cannot give service to either of them. Therefore it gives services only to P1, P2 and P3. Got the point? And that's how the stepladder method looks. So what are all the uniqueness of stepladder method? First, you need to find order of apportionment. How can I find order of apportionment? There are three ways. One is maximum number of services provided. Based on this, you can decide that particular service department which provides maximum number of services will be the first department, followed by next best maximum number of services, followed by next best maximum number of services. Without order of apportionment, you cannot do a problem following stepladder method. Make it very clear. Second one is directly given in the question. So order of apportionment can be directly given in the question. In that case, just blindly follow the question. Third one is, suppose if number of services is same for all service departments, then you got a confusion. S1 is providing 5 services, S2 is providing 5 services, S3 is providing 5 services. Then what you will do? Simple. Go with, costs, overhead cost. Whichever department has got high overhead cost after primary distribution. For example, if S1 is 5 lakhs, start with S1. S2 is 4 lakhs, then go for S2. S3 is 2 lakhs, then go for S3. That will be the order of apportionment. Got the point over here? Next. Another important point. Here also, question. Two possibilities are there with respect to question. Question can be silent with respect to stepladder method. Question can be specific with respect to stepladder method. Two possibilities are there, similar to direct distribution method. Very important. All these things that I am telling you will not be there in books. They are very important. That's why listen carefully. I am telling you how to solve the problem. Got it, guys? Again, there are two problems over here. Question can be silent, where a question will ask you to do secondary distribution, but it will not tell you which method you need to follow out of the 5 methods that you've got. Or question will be particularly specific. It will tell you that do secondary distribution as per stepladder method. Are you able to understand? But there will be another confusion. Now see, if the question is silent, then you need to look at the info as usual. Okay, and when it comes to direct distribution method, what did I say? There will be no information with respect to service departments. That's what we have seen here. As you can see, only production department's info is given. Service department totally zero. But when it comes to stepladder method, because it is one-way traffic, either you can give service or you can take service. So the information will be half-boiled. What do you mean by half-boiled information? Service department information will be given, unlike direct distribution method, where in direct distribution method absolutely there is zero info, as you can see here. But in stepladder method, what happens? Half-boiled information will be given, which means neither it will be zero nor it will be full. I'll tell you how it is. Can you see here this one? This is half-boiled information. Half-boiled info means, as you can see, some information is given with respect to service departments, but fully it is not given. There are so many dashes. This we call it as half-boiled information. If nothing is there, direct distribution method. If every number is filled up, reciprocal services method, which is simultaneous equations or stepladder method. Half is given, half is not given, then you have to do as per stepladder method. So when question is silent, then look at the info. Your information will be half-boiled, which means information will be given with respect to service departments, but half will be given, half will not be given. Then you need to understand, yes, I have to use stepladder method to solve this particular question. Got the point, guys? Now, next problem that you might face is the question will be specific, where it will specifically ask you to do it as per stepladder method, but all information will be given. What do you mean by all information will be given? One service department providing service to another service department will be given. It will not be half-boiled information. It will be full info. Full info means what? This dash 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 also will be filled up. Then you will be confused. Arey yaar, in the question he has asked me to what is that? Find out. I mean to do secondary distribution as per step ladder method, which means obviously I expect half-boiled information. But he has given full information, which means reciprocal services information also is given. Then you will get confused. Then what you have to do? Ignore some information and then do the problem. Ignore. It's exactly same logic with respect to direct distribution method. What I've told you over here. I told you the same logic. So sometimes question will confuse you like that. He will specifically ask you to do it as per step ladder method. Wantedly he'll give you entire information. Then you'll get confused. Entire information is given, which means actually it suits reciprocal services method, which is step ladder method. Repeated redistribution method or simultaneous equations method. But still he has asked you specifically to do it as per step ladder method, which means some information you need to consider, some information you need to ignore. Got this? Right. So that's it. So what is the uniqueness of step ladder method? Either you can give service or you can take service. If you have given service, you cannot take service. If you have taken service, you cannot give service. So the most important factor before you try to solve any problem with respect to step ladder method is to know the order of apportionment. And for that I clearly gave you. How to know order of apportionment? Find out the maximum number of services. Based on that you can go, or sometimes it will be directly given in the question, or sometimes if the number of services is same for all the service departments, then you better go with overhead cost. Higher the overhead cost, first you will distribute that particular service department, then the next overhead cost, next highest overhead cost, then the next highest overhead cost. Got it? And this one anyway I have obviously told you. Chalo. Okay now. Okay, now read this question once. Let's finish this off. Okay, now have a look into this question. A manufacturing company has two production departments, P1 and P2, and three service departments, timekeeping, stores, and maintenance. The department distribution summary showed the following expenses for December 2009. P1, P2, all the three service departments. As you can see, overheads has already been apportioned, which means primary distribution is over. Primary distribution is over, which means what I have to do is secondary distribution. Now to do secondary distribution, look at the wording. Apportion the service department expenses to production department cost centers P1 and P2. So which means question is silent. When question is silent, which method I have to use? I have 5 methods. Direct distribution method, step ladder method, reciprocal services, which is repeated redistribution method, simultaneous equations method, trial and error method. Which one I have to do? Look at the info. What did I tell you? If question is silent, look at the information in the question. As you can see, what kind of information you have got? Half-boiled information. Half-boiled means neither you have got zero information nor you have got full information, which means it is half-boiled. So when it is half-boiled information, one thing is clear. You have to do it as per step ladder method. But to do it as per step ladder method, I told you one important point. You need to know order of apportionment. How to find out order of apportionment? I told you it is based on maximum number of services provided. Now how to figure out what is the maximum number of services provided? Very simple. You see number of employees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is the maximum number of info you have got. Number of employees belongs to whom? It belongs to timekeeping department. So which means timekeeping department is providing service to stores department, P1, P2 and maintenance. Which means timekeeping department is providing how many services? Timekeeping department is providing how many services? 4 services. Next, this information, number of requisitions 12, 10 and 3. Number of requisitions means obviously material requisitions. So it belongs to which department? Stores department. So it is providing how many services? So stores department is providing services to P1, P2 and maintenance, which means 3. Are you able to understand? Now timekeeping department, don't say it is 5, because timekeeping department will not provide service to timekeeping department itself. That we will not count. Therefore 8 is not counted. So 20, 15, 10 and 5 is counted. And next only 2 are there. Mishnas, which is nothing but maintenance department. Okay. So which means maintenance department has got 2. So 2400, 600, 2 for maintenance department. 12, 10, 3. That is number of requisitions, which is nothing but stores department, which is 3. Timekeeping department, P1, P2, 20, 15, 10 and 5. 8 will not count because timekeeping department providing service to timekeeping department will not be counted. Self-service. So 4. So which means first I'll start with timekeeping, then I'll go for stores, then I'll go for maintenance. That's what we have done here. Okay, you can go in ascending or descending order. Order of apportionment should be there. See, I would rather advise you to start with timekeeping, then what is the next one you have got? Stores, then maintenance. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it and finish it off. Okay, answer. Let me keep the question over here. Right, guys. Okay, as usual, what will be the columns? So secondary distribution of overheads as per which method, guys? Step ladder method. Secondary distribution of overheads as per which method? Step ladder method. As you can see here, first I'll have particulars or items, whichever heading you want you can write. Then you've got I need a column for basis. Then we have P1, P2. I should write it in the order now. P1, P2. After that, see here carefully. I should write it in the order of apportionment. Who is the first one? Timekeeping. Then stores. Then maintenance. In that order only you have to write. Either you can ulta the order. For example, you can either write it ascending order or descending order. Kuch farak nahi padta. But the order must be maintained. Okay. So because as I told here, timekeeping is 4, then stores, then maintenance. Or you can do reverse. 2, 3, 4 is also possible. 4, 3, 2 is also possible. So it should be in the ascending order or descending order. That doesn't matter. But it should not be in other way around. Okay. So here I've gone with maintenance, stores and timekeeping. Whereas here I've written timekeeping, stores and maintenance. Kuch farak nahi padta. In both the cases it's gonna be the same. So either it will be like this, step ladder, or it will be like this. That's the only difference. Okay. Chalo, anyway. So let's start. First, overheads after primary distribution. We'll start with that. It is given in the question, obviously. How much? 24,000 for P1, 16,000 for P2. Okay, timekeeping 4,000, stores 5,000, maintenance 3,000. Correct? Okay, order of apportionment. First, I should start with timekeeping. Okay, what is the timekeeping expenses? 4,000. Okay, so 4,000, what is a suitable basis? Suitable basis is number of employees. So P1, P2, this is timekeeping. So 4,000 you are going to distribute between P1, P2, stores and maintenance. So P1 it is how much? 20. P2 it is 15. Stores it is 10. Maintenance it is 5. Correct? 20, 15, 10 and 5. Okay. So now how much is timekeeping? 4,000 into 15, 5, 20, 20, 40, 50. So into 20 divided by 50. The total is 50. Okay. 20 divided by 50. So which means 1600 for P1. Correct? 15 divided by 50. 4,000 into 15 divided by 50. That will be 1200. Next. 4,000 into 10 divided by 50. 800. Okay. Next. 4,000 into 5 divided by 50. 400. That is for maintenance. Got it? That's it. 4,000 is done. The moment you are done with this, immediately put a dash over here. Why? Because it is one-way traffic. Timekeeping has provided service to everybody, so it cannot receive service. Therefore, put a dash. After timekeeping, what is the next one we have? In the order, stores. So coming on to stores, what is a suitable basis for stores? Number of requisitions. Timekeeping, it is number of employees. That also we need to write. It's better. Number of requisitions. So P1, P2. Okay, this is dash. So now we are talking about stores. Stores department, how much you have got? 5,000 plus 800. You have 5,800 in your kitty. So P1, P2 and then maintenance department. So it will distribute to 3 departments. So P1 number of requisitions are how much? 12. P2 10. Maintenance department it is 3. Okay. So how much is the stores department 5000. This is 25. 12 plus 10 plus 3, 25. So 5000 into 12 divided by 25. 2400 for P1. Correct? Is it? Stores department कितना है यार? Yeah, sorry, 5800 it is. So 5800 into 12 divided by 25, 2784. Then 5800 into 10 divided by 25, 2320. 5800 into 3 divided by 25, 696. Oh yeah, again put a dash immediately under stores department, because now it has provided the service, it cannot take back the service. Timekeeping will anyway, it will continue. So the last one is obviously what? Maintenance department. Okay, how much you have got in maintenance department? 3000 plus 400 plus 696, which is 4096 in the kitty. So it will be distributed in the ratio of what? Machine hours between P1 and P2. P1 and P2, what is the machine hours? 2400 and 600. So take two zeros out. So 24 and 6. Okay, so 4096 into 24 by 30. 3276.8, 3277. Then 4096 into 6 divided by 30. 819.2. I'll take it as 819. हो गया? That's it. So here you'll get the numbers. This is overheads after secondary distribution. You can just total it up. It is calci work. And these three will be what? Nil, nil, nil. And this is your step ladder method, as you can see. Got the point? In the material, it would have come reverse. You see, this way. For me, it has come this way. That's the only difference. Once you change the order of apportionment. Apart from that, you have got nothing. Got the point, guys? That's it. We are done with it. So as you can see here, in the reapportionment done above, it could be seen that timekeeping department's overheads are apportioned to other service department, that is stores and maintenance, but the timekeeping department does not get any reciprocal apportionment from these two departments, which means it has given service, it did not receive service. Similarly, the stores department overheads is apportioned to maintenance department, but the stores department did not get any service back from the maintenance department. To conclude, the department whose overheads are apportioned to other service department, which means the department who has given service, does not get any reciprocal apportionment, which means they did not get the service back. In this method, the sequence of apportionment has to be decided first, which is nothing but order of apportionment. The cost of service department which gives service to maximum number of other service departments should be apportioned first, which is timekeeping in this question. After this, the next maximum, next largest, then next largest. So in some cases, if the service department having the largest cost is apportioned first, it is those cases where the maximum number of services is a tie. The service department 1 provides 5 services, service department 2 5 services, service department 3 also 5 services. In that case, what you will do? You will go for that particular service department which has got the largest cost, highest overhead cost, like 5 lakhs in the example which I told you. Then 4 lakhs, then 3 lakhs for example. Got it, guys? Okay, that's it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this particular video. So much of concepts has been covered. I hope you guys would have enjoyed it. I think I've touched whatever that is relevant for you, especially when it comes to examination. I did not give due importance with respect to the calci work, because calci work anyway you can do. Take the calci and then hit it over there. That's not, I think personally, I think that it's not important. These are all the other areas that's really important. Okay. So that's it. We'll wind up the session over here. In the next session, we'll continue. If you have really liked this video, as usual, you guys need to what? Yeah, comment, like and share the video. Let people know about the hard work that we are putting it over here. Okay, chalo. And another thing is, I can just give you a homework over here. Right. Okay. So today's homework for you guys, and you need to put the answer in the comment section. Do I have any problems first of all to give it as homework for you? No. Okay. Okay. The last problem, problem number 6. Do the first step and second step. I think second step also, I think you can't do it. Okay, no homework right now because I have to do this. No questions that I can give it as a homework right now. Okay, chalta hai. Okay, so I cannot give you any homework unfortunately because there is no question right now with this knowledge which you can solve. Anyway, before we wind up the session, if you have really liked this video, comment how did you feel about the video. How did you find the concepts? Do you find it interesting or not? You'll really start loving the subject costing. I would love to know. Okay guys, thank you so much. This is your PK sir signing off.